And we are live for Medic Monday. It has been a couple weeks. I've got Michael helping me out today. If you guys remember Michael from dragging him around the studio floor. So it's going to be a good show today. We're missing our mustachioed friend Brian today. He had some stuff come up, so he couldn't be here today. So it's just me, just like the olden golden days. I'm tired. I just had a new baby. Then we went to a range day for CMMG and filmed there, and it was awesome. It's their 20th anniversary. If you don't know CMMG, go check them out. Go give them a congratulations on their page and check out all their videos. Got to meet a lot of cool people. And then we have Iraq veteran 8888's range day next weekend. So we're just slammed. We're busy, and we are still bringing you Medic Mondays every time we can. The last few Medic Mondays, oh wait, I gotta do my plugs, sorry. New merch coming out soon. You can go to diearmory.com and get merch. We also have it on ballisticink.com, which is IV88's merch company. Any medical equipment that you need, you can go to frontlinemedicaldefense.com, use coupon code DIRE10. That will get you a cool discount. We've got our new med kits coming out soon. They're in the prototyping phase. Super excited about that. I think that's it. Those are the only plugs. On the bottom of the YouTube channel in the description are all the fun links that you can go click to get all that stuff. So, probably going to be pretty short and sweet today, as I don't have somebody to bounce conversation off with, so it could be a good thing. But we have this awesome skull by Ballistic Dummies. This thing is super cool. It is roughly the weight of a human skull. And it's got all the ballistic gel, which is the very, very close to the proper density for muscle tissue. And the skull is pretty much pretty accurate as far as general thickness, and obviously that varies. There's actually brain in here and blood and everything inside of this thing. So I have two of these. We're going to blow one up. Comment below what you'd like to see done to this thing. I was thinking we've got the X Products can cannon, might shoot it in the face with a can. We just got the Barrett 50 BMG that we're going to be doing some content with. Maybe I'll hit it in the face with a 50 BMG. I don't know. Leave your comment. What would you like to see us do to this thing? How would you like to see us destroy this thing? Because that's going to be really interesting. And I'm excited. Whatever we do to it, it's got to be epic. It's going to be awesome. But I brought it today because it's so cool. It's anatomically correct, and since we've been talking about airways and stuff, I thought maybe I'll go start getting into some details. I know we keep going over a lot of general things like, hey, airway, and I keep saying we'll get into that. Well, today I kind of want to get into like a small thing of it. And the skull is a good prop because it's anatomically correct. So most of you guys know that if you have a med kit, most trauma kits or med kits in the market come with this little guy. This is an NPA, Nasopharyngeal Airway. And I kind of just wanted to go over what to do with these because these can mess somebody up. A lot of med kits, our med kits come with these. A lot of med kits come with things that if you're not trained on how to use it, you could actually hurt somebody. And if you're just trying to be a good Samaritan and help somebody and you end up damaging them, you get to go hang out in a jail cell, which is not what you probably want, how you want to spend your weekend. NPAs are kind of one of those things. They seem kind of small and harmless, but if you don't know how to use it or place it, you can actually hurt somebody, and we don't want to hurt people. So if you've got a med kit, take it out. Maybe don't open it. Keep it in the package, or order another one. These are dirt cheap. You can get these for like very, very, very cheap. And I would open one up. I would order one and keep one in your med kit, but I would open one up just to check it out. See how it feels. You also need to size it correctly. If the med kit that you have is for you and you're like, oh, I've got an NPA in my med kit, I'm good, and then it's not your size, that's why I'm saying you might want to take it out. Because If you pull this out and size it and it's not your size, then it basically does you no good. So we're going to talk about sizing, and we're going to use this guy here. So basically, you can kind of measure from the angle of the jawline in the nose, like this. And you don't want it to be like excessively long or like excessively short, like this. All right? So you kind of want to, can you kind of see that on the screen? Is that like that? Yeah. Sorry. Michael's got what it's looking like on the screen, and I'm trying to see if I'm even doing this right. So that's kind of about where you want it sitting. It's supposed to go as if you're inserting the nose down here, kind of to the angle of the jawline here. And that's about the right size. So most med kits come with these in a standard size because most adult men can typically, give or take the same size. You know your body. If you're like just a really small dude or you're just a really big dude, go ahead and size that and just make sure. Because if it's too short, then you did nothing. And then you're going to have this thing in your nose and you'll be struggling to breathe still because it's not opening your airway or helping you in any way. And let's just kind of go over what these things are even used for. I kind of jumped the gun with sizing. This is to open your airway, allow you to, if you have, sometimes we get a lot of trauma patients, they have a lot of trauma to their jaw. You can't get like a proper airway in. You can kind of bypass this section of the face right here and just kind of go straight back down and let somebody just be able to continue breathing. And that's kind of what you want to use it for typically. But you do have to be careful. So I'm going to kind of talk about, I kind of mostly want to focus on when to not use this. So there is, the way the skull is shaped, if you kind of take away the whole jaw right here, picture this just like a pirate skull, right? Like there's no jaw. The way the skull forms back here, there's a bone process underneath here, behind all this, and it's your basilar skull, right? The base of your skull. When you don't want to use this is when that is broken. Because what happens is, as you insert the OPA, it kind of glides off of the anatomy that's already there. And if that anatomy is compromised, it'll push through that anatomy, and then what are you pushing into? The person's brain. And we don't want to poke people's brains. That's the opposite of what we're trying to do. So the most important key, really, with knowing whether they have a basilar skull fracture, because it's inside of their head, right? There's signs that you can look for to see whether or not this is going to be appropriate to use in that situation. First off, we always say, mechanism of injury. Don't get too tunneled on it. Like I said, it's in the last Medic Monday we did, it's more of a subconscious thing. You typically know kind of the situation that you're into, and if you're in a traumatic situation, there's just things you're going to notice. One of that is going to be fluid leaking out of the nose, not just blood. You might see kind of like a clearish type fluid mixed in, leaking with it. That's cerebrospinal fluid. That's a big time indication that there is something in there that's not right. Don't use this. If there is fluid leaking out of the ears, kind of like the same fluid, that is also spinal fluid. We don't want that. Don't use this. The two other ones, there's one called Raccoon Eyes, and you're going to see a lot of blood pooling up. Like it almost just looks like they have two black eyes, really, which can be tricky if it's like facial trauma and there's a lot of bruising anyways, but it's very, typically it's very symmetrical. That can be a sign of a basilar skull fracture. And then the other one is called battle signs. So right here under the ears on either side, it could just be one side, or the other side. Doesn't even necessarily have to be both. Watch out for bruising underneath the ear right here. If you see like a dark bruising, looks like they've had like an old bruise right here, that's also a sign of a basilar skull fracture. So anybody that you see, you come up on a car wreck or something, typically a lot of basilar skull fractures happen if the patient is hit right here, like on the bridge of their nose. It can happen just impact of the head anywhere, but a lot of those front facial traumas, because you're driving a car, typically you're facing forward, airbags, debris, whatever, just hits them square in the face, and it'll a lot of times it'll hit here and send cracks down here, and it will fracture the base of that skull, which is what we really don't want. So these are pretty easy to use. Assuming that you run up, the patient doesn't have those signs and they do need an airway, they may have some trauma down here, you feel like, hey, these people need an MPA. What you're going to do is all of the MPAs and all of our kits and everything, they come with lubricating jelly, right? So you want to jelly it up real good. If you don't have lubricating jelly, or you haven't been checking off your equipment and you found out that maybe this has a hole in it and it's dried up or whatever, I have used the patient's blood or spit before. I know it sounds disgusting, but like if they're like out of consciousness, like, it's a lot of times they're drooling, you know, obviously wear your gloves, put your gloves on, people, because this stuff does get gross. Trauma is not pretty and it's not clean. Just kind of just do a little, do one of these numbers, get some blood and spit and stuff on there, and then try it. But it does help to lubricate. You'd be surprised at how it will feel sticky, and then you lubricate it, and then it just kind of slides in. So if you'll notice that on this, the bevel right here is on the side, right here, that bevel is going to go towards their septum. So this is going to go towards the center of the nose. One thing a lot of people I notice do, especially when they're kind of newer, is they kind of go up. That's not really what you want to do. You have a giant sinus cavity right here, and all you're doing is sticking this up there, not into their airway. What you do is, obviously, if the patient's laying on the ground, you can come up. You can kind of flex their head back a little bit. Typically, you can use your hands on their jaw like this. You can pull up with your thumb to kind of get that, and it seems weird. You don't think of your nose this way, but on this ballistic dummy is actually really good because you can see the hole in the bone, right? You can kind of see, you actually go straight back. A lot of people don't think of their noses as just going straight back. You feel like you have two nostrils and it kind of comes up here. Not really. I mean, there is stuff up there, but what you're going to do is you're going to lean this back. You're going to flex the head back. You can pull up with your thumb or whatever, and you're going to go bevel towards the septum, and you're just going to go literally straight in. And sometimes you might need to go a little in and out, but don't be like twisting sometimes helps. Don't like be jamming it. If there's something in their nose that you can't see, you may be shoving something deeper, farther into the airway. If you come across like a lot of resistance, don't try to like force your way through it. Go to the other side and do the other nostril. So you go in, you'll just kind of slide in, you'll twist it as you need it. It'll go in, and then you should have a nice airway set right here. And then you can put your mask on or whatever you need to do to get them air. Another thing people don't realize is if you are grabbing an extra one of these to size up, keep 2 of these in your kit. Because if you get this one, no problem, put another one in. Just go in, like the more air, the better, right? So a lot of people will say that. I'm not sure if my department specifically recommends doing 2. But yeah, do another one. Do two NPAs. It's pretty easy. And that's kind of it. I mean, it's short and sweet. But Google, look at some pictures. I don't know if, are you monitoring the chat?
I haven't yet.
So Michael's got the chat here. Google battle signs in trauma patients. Google battle signs in trauma patients. I'm going to provide these links for you guys so you can see it, because it does help to see it, because if you do come across a car wreck or whatever and you happen to have your med kit and you're like, this person's struggling to breathe, and you're like, hey, they need an MPA, you can actually see this stuff.
You see that?
Yeah. Post that in the chat. These images, they're not too graphic. It just looks like bruising, but, it is real trauma. So, if you're a little light, if you're faint of heart, or you kind of have a weak stomach, maybe don't Google too much of this. But this picture is not bad. It's literally just bruising behind the ear.
It's too long. The link's too long. I can't.
Ah, no. You don't have a link shortener on there?
There may be. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, the link's too long. Wow. But so the big ones are fluid from the nose and ears, and bruising around the eyes, raccoon eyes, and behind here. I'm sure we can get even more into depths of this. There may be things I'm not thinking of. And if Brian were here, he could be like, oh yeah, check this, remember this stuff. And I always do that. And then reassessing. I mean, that's something that is not preached as much. Did you get it?
No, it's not working.
Oh, man. Well, just Google it. Google battle signs, Google raccoon eyes in trauma patients, and you'll basically see exactly what we're talking about. And if you have the stomach for it, you can Google what cerebral spinal fluid looks like in a trauma patient. It's pretty distinct. You're going to know. You're going to be like, okay, that's just not all blood leaking out of there. There's some spinal fluid and stuff. But Google that stuff. Make sure you know it. I want to do more like in-depth stuff like this of specific items. We covered patient assessment. We did airway, breathing, and circulation. So this kind of falls under the airway. Airway and kind of breathing, but breathing is kind of more the mechanical. This is more airway management. There are even steps to take before this, but I had the skull, so I wanted to go ahead and do this. But I think Brian mentioned it last time, like honestly, just like tilting the head back and lifting the chin can sometimes just open up the airway. And you may think you need something like this and you do that and it works, then do it and hold it until 911 gets there. If they're choking on blood and stuff like that, roll them over on their side. Put them in a recovery position. We can go over recovery position when I have more hands here. Let that stuff spill out of their mouth. Don't let it go down their throat. All those steps you can kind of take while holding C-spine, while waiting for somebody to get there before you put one of these in. Don't be, just because you have tools and equipment, don't be so quick to like jump to use those tools. Unless it's like a tourniquet and there's bright red splurting blood. Be quick to jump to using tools on that. But as far as airway goes, this is one of the most basic tools, but it can be life-saving. They're super cheap. Go buy a few of them. Go check them out. Size yours correctly. Make sure that you're sizing yours correctly. Just like I showed you, if you're confident in the size, buy a couple more and train with these. You can do these while you're conscious. I think, Brian said he wanted to do it to me on stream. Maybe we'll do that one day. I don't really want to do it because it is uncomfortable, but whatever. Whatever it takes. Did you get it?
All these like link shorter like websites, like I'll have to pay for like make accounts for it. So.
Oh man. Well, just Google it yourself. It's on Google Images. For some reason, it won't let us use it. It's trying to make us pay for the images. But Google it. Make sure you're familiar with it. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. Make sure you guys drop a comment. Make sure you guys share this. Get out there and train. Make sure that you are familiar with your equipment and what you're doing. Make sure you go grab a med kit. We'd prefer you to buy it from us, but if you don't, again, that coupon code's DIRE10 at frontlinemedicaldefense.com. You can get all this stuff over there. And I think that's it. We will see you guys on the next Medic Monday. Bye.